The Red Bull Ring is one of the most iconic motorsport tracks in the world and highly anticipated on any motorsport calendar. But what would happen if you were to drive it in the reverse layout? What would that look like? What would it be like to drive? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Now, before we get into this video, let me explain a couple of things. First of all, this is take number 3 of recording this video. Loads of technical difficulties and an absolute nightmare. So for the pain that I've had to go through to make this video, please make sure you've hit subscribe. The second thing to explain is the car that we are in, which is the BMW M6 GT3, a very powerful car, and the rear end of this is probably one of the most unstable in all of the Gran Turismo game. However, let's get into this track and actually break this one down. If we look behind us, we'll see an iconic run up to turn 1, and we are absolutely not doing that today. We have our own turn 1, which is of course the penultimate corner in the usual track. So we're going to be all the way out wide, trying to basically take the same line, of course, that we do when we come round, clobber a little bit of this curb, take as much of it as you want. As long as you've got a stable car, you should be okay. We're going to probably miss most of that actual curb. We'll hit the apex but avoid the curb in this car because it is very easy to unsettle. You're immediately going to run all the way out wide here and take a big swoop and turn into what is now turn 2. You're probably going to be doing that in 3rd gear. Getting up to speed here. This next sector is my absolute favourite in this reverse layout. All the way to the right hand side and then all the way here. Cutting across and trying to keep your car still within track limits, of course, but pretty much straight lining that entire curb. You're going to be hitting the brakes just as you see these 3 yellow curbs. Now, I don't know if every game has these in their details. We're on Gran Turismo and they do, and they are a good braking point for me. But you're essentially straight lining this entire apex. It is a bend, it is a curve, but you're pretty much attacking that straight. You're going to be hammering down the gears down to 3rd, and you'll be taking this around about 85 miles an hour, getting your foot to the floor all the way out wide with a short run uphill. Now, this is a really tricky corner as well, but it's made a little bit easier by the fact it is actually uphill. So you can come off the power. That will slow the car down enough because this is actually a steeper incline than you might realize, and a slight touch of brakes, literally 20-30% for probably about a second. That's going to be enough to just keep you nice and tight to this apex, still averaging about 80 miles an hour in 3rd gear, all the way out wide to hit this apex briefly and follow this left-hander round. Now, this corner here is probably the most difficult on the clockwise normal layout of this track. It's even more difficult in this anti-clockwise layout. So you're going to start hitting your brakes way further back before you actually hit this curb, or this curb on the right hand side. You're still going to use as much of it as you can whilst you're still getting slowed down. Turning the car in 2nd gear most likely, trying to take as much of this corner as you can so that you can straighten yourself up as early as you can to basically floor it. And that is exactly what you're going to do out of that corner. Keeping a car like this steady is going to be pretty difficult at speed, but you're going to do your absolute best. If you're in the Group 4s around here, much easier and a bit more comfortable. Now, this advertising board is pretty much your braking point. If you don't have that detail in whichever sim you are driving on, then perhaps this slip road or path, I don't know if that's the rejoin road actually, I think it is the service road where you would rejoin, maybe using them as your braking points, because this one right here is a death wish. This is a death sentence. If this was in a race, there is nobody hitting the right braking point and getting a clean overtake done here. So you're going to be hitting the brakes around about that advertising board, slowing down to 2nd, and trying to leave it as late as you can before you turn in. You are going to ask the curb for nothing but oversteer. As soon as you hit this curb, that is going to unsettle the car, especially a car like this. So if you're going to take it, you want to make sure that you are straight lining as much as possible and only put your foot down when you're absolutely sure. With that though, that is pretty much the end of this, except the one corner that everybody will have clicked on this video to to see in reverse, and that is the mighty turn 1, or in our case here, final corner. Now, I'm going to show you the braking points in just a bit, but the actual line, again, that you want to take, you want to try and hit that apex. Obviously, this is motorsport, we all know what we're doing. My tip is to actually try and actively cut the corner as much as you possibly can, pretty much aim for the Armco barrier, the metal barrier on the left-hand side. The reason being is that whilst you're approaching this corner at a great rate of knots and trying to brake and going downhill and put steering input, even at half speed here, you will see just how difficult it is to get that car turned in. And so naturally you're going to understeer away from the corner. So let's try the track at a little bit of speed, maybe it's like 50% speed here. Trying to hit that apex, as we say. Maybe it's not too much of the curb, slight touch of braking, 80 miles an hour to third, maybe it's up to fourth depending on your gear ratios and the car. Should be all the way out wide here, and then flat, just moving up to 6th gear, and there's those yellow curbs. That's going to be our braking point. A smidge quicker there, probably 86 to 90 miles an hour, and then up to here, dropping down to round about 80 as you clip the apex here, or actually it's 76 there, make that 79. Up to 4th and around the left-hand side. Just as you move to 5th, or at least for me in this car, I'm hitting the brakes. I'm not going to be at the curb by the time I hit the brakes. I'm hitting the brakes beforehand and then driving out to clip this, we say curb, it's obviously not really a curb because it is flat, but the outer extremities of the track. And we're only really going to clip that as we're sort of halfway up to the curb, because then it's a real big arch round, trying again to straighten the car up as early as we can do, and away we go. 2nd gear over there, maybe it's 3rd again depending on the car that you're in. Up to 3rd, up to 4th, up to 5th, maybe it's up to 6th before a massive braking zone, and it's very late before you see this apex. Going downhill there is pretty much blind until you're about 20 yards from the apex, so you've really got to remember the track and know exactly where you are. One final run at speed, just where the grass ends is where we're going to hit the brakes. Down into 2nd, you will see exactly what I mean there about understeer will just not let you cut that corner. And there we go, a relatively quick lap of the Red Bull Ring. Now, however, I think it's time that we get our stopwatch out and we give this a go to see just how quick we are in this reverse layout of the Red Bull Ring. Let's go. Right then, here we go. First hot lap of the Red Bull Ring in reverse. Dropping down to 2nd gear here, trying to clip that apex as much as we can, early as we can on the power to set ourselves up to cross the line. And here we go, heading into turn 1, crossing the line, just up to 6th gear before we hit the brakes. I'm going to try and carry as much speed as we dare, feathering the throttle before we can absolutely launch it in 3rd gear there. Oh, I'm probably just running a bit too wide of the apex there. Up to 4th, up to 5th. I'm going to clip a little bit of this curve before we start turning in pretty early. Straight line this as much as we can. Hard on the brakes. That's the latest that I've ever broke. Trying to do this layout here. Slight lift. Downshift to 3rd. Don't need to be back on the brakes again. And there we go. Plant, plant, plant. Go, go, go. Up to 5th before we just start to hit the braking point. There's a marshal's post there that you can also use as a bit of a reference. Cutting that one in 2nd. Oh, almost a snap of oversteer. Potentially, as I say, 3rd gear there, depending which car you are in. And away we go again. Big braking zone. Slamming down the gears here. Trying not to go too far. Lock the brakes up. We want to hit this still with a bit of control. That is actually... Oh no! That was actually nicely done. Were the words that were about to leave my mouth there, as I then go and spin it out of the final corner. Well, that is going to slow this hot lap down. Let's go for another and make sure this is the one. Big braking zone. Here we go. Let's ignore the fact we got dirty tyres. Let's try and not take this too seriously. And let's jump straight into another one. Up to 4th, up to 5th. We'll probably hit 6th gear. Maybe it's just before we hit this curb. Actually, I think just keep that in 5th there. Down into 3rd. That gets us slowed down quite nicely. Trying to put the power on whilst trying not to run wide. Slight touch of the brakes. Get yourself turned in there. Maybe he's wanting brake balance to the rear. to be fair, just so that we can keep a little bit more front end. Up to 5th. Let's hold this here. Into 6th. Big braking zone again. Oh, that's a snap of oversteer that you just do not want. Bit of a lift, bit of brakes, 30-40% braking. 80 miles an hour you want to try and average just as you hit the apex as the corner comes back round. Up to 4th, up to 5th. Marshall's post. Braking. 2nd gear, is this going to be enough to get us turned in? Gran Turismo now really accentuates and kind of exaggerates the fact that you need to be off the brakes to really be able to get the steering input in. So that's exactly what we do. Lifting off in 2nd. It's enough to get us round the blind braking zone. Down into 1st. Back up to 2nd. That this time is nicely done. We don't spin. Nice. Nice. Up to 4th. Up to 5th. Trying to straight line this slightly bendy straight to absolutely minimise the amount of distance we're travelling. End of the grass there. Down into 1st. Back up to 2nd. That's actually quite nicely done. And as far as today goes, that might actually be our fastest lap yet across the line. There we go then, that has been my hot lap of the Red Bull Ring in its reverse layout. Now, a little bit of an insight into these videos. I don't know how well I've done until they actually get edited. Because we're on Gran Turismo, it doesn't recognise the reverse layout, it doesn't know what's going on, and so it does not time us as we cross the line. So until these videos get edited and we literally run a stopwatch ourselves, I don't know how well we've done, but you will see the time up on screen now. Let me know in the comments, do you think you could beat that time first of all? What do you think of this reverse layout? Should they bring it as an actual track? In my opinion, they absolutely should do. Third thing, make sure you drop in the comments which track we should look at next to do a reverse layout. And the final thing, make sure to hit subscribe for plenty more videos just like this.